Here I come, you can't hide.
Next on our final night of our End Zone Preview Show is the third time the charge for Oxford, trying to go back to the state championship. We'll tell you what happens. Area powers all over the place. West Point, Columbus, South Tupelo, New Hope, Tupelo all have good teams coming back. And then there's Starkville, a dominant defense, a new head coach. Can they do it this year? We'll tell you all about it coming up.
The WCBI End Zone Preview Show, brought to you by OCH Sports Medicine, Itawamba Community College, Carl Hogan Toyota, and Max South.
Welcome to our final of 3 End Zone Previews presented by OCH Sports Medicine. Our great sponsors, Itawamba Community College, Carl Hogan Toyota, and Max South. I am Robby Donoho. This is Braden Bishop. We do not have Adam Gore this evening, but we really don't need him. We only need us two, because we know what we're talking about when it comes to high school football. Big boys tonight, 5A and 6A. First thing that catches your eyes with these two classifications?
One thing that's specifically going to catch my eye is the move that Grenada is going to make from 6A to 5A. And, you know, they were pretty good last year. They're going to be pretty good this year, too. So I keep an eye on that. Stay in 5A, Oxford. Really looking forward to seeing what they're able to do Friday night, and I think a lot of people are.
A lot of people are. And going into tomorrow, we're actually going to figure out a little bit in Class 6A because South Panola and Clinton play each other, arguably the two best teams going into this season. Yeah, and
you know, you and I were talking beforehand. I don't know how much tomorrow night will say about the end of the season with those two individuals, right. But hey, if you're going to starting out big, let's do it tomorrow night with those two.
Might as well. Arguably the top two teams in the state going into this season. We'll see how it all plays out down the road. We'll get to 6A a little bit later on the show. We got 5A coming up next here on our End Zone Preview Show. Is this the year for Oxford? They've been so close so many times. Can they finally pull off the state title? They have some big question marks that we'll talk about. West Point's a team that, if you're not looking at them, watch out. They're going to be good for many years. We'll talk about the Green Wave and how they look. And then there's South Tupelo and New Hope. Could be in rebuilding mode? Maybe not. I'll tell you more about that when we come back. Will's tweet. Welcome back to our End Zone Preview Show here, presented by OCH Sports Medicine. Robby, Braden, talking 5A. First team, obviously, you got to talk about when you talk about Class 5A, the Oxford Chargers. They had some question marks going into this season, though surprisingly, because we went into this thinking, no, they're just going to roll all the way through 5A North. It's not a foregone conclusion.
Well, I don't know for sure. I know with Coach Johnny Hill coming out and doing this thing one more time,
last year.
you know, you're going to see some things that I mean, he may have some stuff in his back pocket he's ready to let loose from the last couple of decades. And the Chargers are really good. They were really, really good last year, kind of run into a buzzsaw towards the end. But nonetheless, they're going to put up some numbers, and it's going to be fun the first few games, especially non-conference.
You know all about Jack Abraham and DK Metcalf, but those big question marks I mentioned, Kyrie White and Kinsey Phillips, they may or may not have them due to impending legal trouble. Those two guys, those are big cogs of this machine going into this year.
I agree, Robbie. They're gigantic, really impactful kids. I don't know if they won't miss them for a little bit. They're that good. They're coached really well on both sides of the ball. Jack Abraham is just really, really, really good.
The most underrated quarterback, I think, honestly, in the nation. He's finally starting to get some recognition. Got a Cal offer this week, but he sounds pretty solid at Tulane, and if he stays with Tulane, the Green Wave are going to be getting a steal. Their offensive line, and they lose some guys on defense, but that offensive line returns everyone, and for a quarterback like Jack to have that offensive line back, that's big.
Yeah, and you talk about the offensive line, but you also have to kind of look at the receivers when he played some 7-on-7 stuff this summer, and you put together that 7-on-7 type of skill with some really good offensive and defensive linemen, I guess you could say. They're going to be very, very solid, probably even better than they were last year, and that says a lot.
They can put up 40, 45 points a night if they really want to. That catch by DK Metcalf he had against West Point, one of the greatest catches I've seen in a couple of years. But speaking of West Point, they didn't finish in second last year. That was New Hope, but West Point could be the team that may give Oxford the biggest run this year.
Yeah, and they're pretty strong as far as young class goes. We've had the theme of the sophomore-junior class the last couple of nights, and West Point may be able to do some things with some sophomores, and they could turn some heads this year, especially with the new quarterback with Marcus.
You see him running right there, Marcus Murphy.
He's going to have some wheels on him, and West Point, they have that tradition. They're going to do something in 5A. We just don't know how well.
If they don't make a deep run this year, promise you next year it's going to be even bigger. But they've got some great senior leaders on this team this year. I mean, they don't have any superstars. I mean, the big name obviously is going to come out, Scott Lashley on the offensive line, but overall, this team doesn't have any superstars that jump off the page. They're just going to beat you down physically. And
that's the type of teams you need to look out for when you don't have any of that type of, maybe self-centered portions on the team. They're truly a team, and that's what they're going to be able to do this year. And anytime you play West Point at home, they're a force to be reckoned with.
First time this year I actually got a smile out of Chris Chambliss when I was talking to him on the tour. You could tell he's excited about this team going forward this year and years to come. That team that finished second last year, New Hope, surprised everyone last year, winning 10 games, but they had a senior class that had 29 guys. You got to replace all those guys, but they still got some good pieces returning.
They have some good kids coming up, but yeah, when you lose that many kids on a 5A team, there is true rebuilding that has to be done. And that's not me putting them down saying they're not going to win big games, but it may be a growing process for them, and this season may be one of those that they have to go through some of those.
It'll start off slow, I think, and they still got to figure out their quarterback situation. It's going to be between Thomas Stevens and J.J. Jones. Right now it's looking like Thomas is going to get the job because he looked good in the Jamboree. And you see that guy making that catch right there, Terriante Thomas. They got a couple guys out from basketball this year, including Carlos Brooks, that could be game changers for them this season.
Well, if you put them out there on the wide receiver or the slot position and you toss it up there, especially with a new quarterback coming into the mix, hey, you never know. Fearless kids.
You never know. He's exactly right. And obviously, we talked about Oxford having a big question mark with Kinsey Phillips and Kyrie White. Brenton Span's a big question mark. They're thinking they're going to get him back, but still, that's a 1,600-yard rusher. If you get him back, that's huge for New Hope. Saltillo's a team that's probably going to be in rebuilding mode this year. They lost all the seniors from last year, including Mookie Pounds. What do we expect from them this year? They got their quarterback coming back in Clayton Knight.
Yeah, and with having the history that Coach Bird has, he's going to put together some things on the offensive and defensive line. I don't know, Robbie. I think that the running game may struggle a good bit, but if you can find some guys on the outside, hit some slant patterns, you never know. They may be able to do some things. The last 2 years, with, of course, Mookie and a few other guys, they've done some things. So they may have that posture and have played some teams in the past that can put them up there.
No matter, even though you lose all those seniors from Saltillo and all that talent, fact that they've started to win a little bit, that's going to build confidence, even with the team they do have returning. So don't sleep on South Tupelo. Other teams in this division, Center Hill and Clarksdale, both those teams were young last year. Teams that we need to watch out for this year, especially Center Hill. Dantarius Ellington is a super athlete for the Mustangs.
Oh, yeah, and DE kind of reminds me of Duke Upshaw from Baldwin.
Very similar,
and
yeah.
He's probably been playing just as long, too, because I actually thought the kid graduated last year. But Center Hill, they could definitely turn some heads. They do that spread kind of option. I've seen them the last couple of years, and they're coached really well, and those kids play very, very hard.
Big change this year in 5A. Grenada comes down. That's a team automatically you say, with the kind of talent they have, we need to watch out for Grenada this year, I think.
I think so, too. Just like Center Hill, I've seen Grenada the last couple of years in 6A. And, ladies and gentlemen, they were able to compete in 6A. They're definitely going to do well in 5A this year.
They're in Region 2, which is not necessarily top-heavy, so they'll be favored in most of their games this year, but we'll see them down the road in the playoffs. We'll make our picks coming up later on in the show. But when we come back, we're talking Class 6A. It's the best of the best, and it's gold ball or bust at Starkville this year. Could the Jackets finally bring it home against South Panola? You heard about that one too earlier. Columbus is ready for liftoff. They've got talent all over the field and a good offense returning. See how Coach Mott does in his second season. And Tupelo, this guy knows him better than anyone. Are they ready to unleash the flood warning? We'll tell you when we come back. No, he's a junior. I do not. What's going on?
What's up? Gibson says he has a message for you. Yes. Go Falcons. You're not going to be as happy as you were last year.
Our director's a New Hope grad, and our Gibson's a Columbus grad. So.
Our Gibson.
By the way, I renamed the Columbus New Hope rivalry last year Clean Old Fashioned Hate. Welcome back into the End Zone Preview Show presented by OCH Sports Medicine. Our great sponsors, Itawamba Community College, Carl Hogan Toyota, and Max South 6A. Big time this time. Starkville's the team you automatically say, boom, we need to talk about the Jackets with what they have coming back this year. We talked about them in the preview on the tour. If you didn't get a chance to see it, it'll be up on our website later on this evening. But that defense is nasty coming back this year.
Yeah, and 2-6A is going to be just a nasty division in general. When you throw in the mix of Clinton right there with Starkville, don't look past Starkville from last year. They're still going to be good. They had so many D1 prospects last year, but they're going to have a lot of upcoming kids too. They kind of got that old Starkville passion back, and that has a lot to do with just this past year. But new coach coming in with a kind of a game plan and a history behind him with Coach Woods.
I think Ricky Woods is the perfect hire for Starkville because these are kids that they know how good they are. They can be very confident. They may have gotten a little too confident against South Panola in that 6A North half final last year, let the game get away. With Ricky Woods, it's laid back, it's calm, it's easy. We're not taking anything too seriously. That may be perfect for these kids going into this year.
I think so too, and that defense is going to be tremendous. If I could look at any type of weak link on this team, it's probably going to be the offense and trying to get it clicking, especially at the quarterback position.
Right.
They've still got a lot of weapons. Let's not get wrong, but it's not exactly what it was last year. The defense can win a lot of games though, so the offense may not have to put up a lot of points.
Yeah, this may be the one year where Starkville, if you get them if they score 20 or more points, you may not beat them with the kind of defense they have. And the offense, we got to see it a little bit in that Jamboree game. We didn't get to see A.J. Brown because you see him right there. He was playing in the All-American baseball game at Wrigley. last weekend. But they got a pretty speedy receiver in Milton Smith Jr. who took a simple out route, 85 yards for a touchdown. So it's not just all A.J. Brown in this offense.
It's not, but he's going to have a huge part in that, and I think he knows that, he realizes that, and that still makes them a very, very dangerous team in 6A.
They're going to be dangerous, and they're going to be staying in Region 2. Region 1 welcomes in Columbus. They were in Region 2 the last 2 years, not anymore. The Falcons now coming over to Region 1. What kind of a game changer is that for this region going forward?
Well, first off, Columbus doesn't have to travel a whole lot like they've done the last couple of years. Columbus is no stranger to 6A or at least the 6A division. They're going to get back to playing some powerhouse rivals like South Panola, Tupelo, Horn Lake, Hernando, and that's going to make it really fun for them. Coach Montgomery usually has some really good game plans. You look at his jamboree, he was just a couple of mistakes away from winning that thing handily, and he's got that program going the right way.
They're going to run the ball, and they're going to pound it out. They got a guy by the name of Kylan Hill, and we were talking about him last year. You see him throwing a pass here against Starkville. This is a Columbus team where if you focus on one thing, one area to stop, Coach Montgomery is going to flip the script and try something completely different and catch you off guard.
That's right. And if Kylan could throw a pass on Starkville as a running back, there's not a lot of teams as a quarterback that could do that against Starkville. So Columbus will be fun to watch. I'll get to finally see them personally for the first time in a couple of years, and they're always a really hard-nosed team starting out. They're
going to play the edges. They're going to run speed sweeps. They're going to run options. They're going to run plays where they're going to run a triple option, where they're going to run a read option, pull, try to throw it out to a receiver. They got so many different weapons they can use on the offensive side of the ball. That's what sort of has the thinking that this is finally the team that can make a push in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, we'll see, especially in the first couple of games. I think they're going to host Kemper County
Friday
night.
Yep.
And Kemper has had a little bit of transition in their division, in their Class 2, but still be a good measuring stick.
The team that you know better than any team that we're going to be talking about throughout these 3 days, Tupelo, them Blankets. What does Tupelo look like this year? Because a lot of people are, sort of casting them aside, saying, well, last year they didn't make it. This year we don't have to worry about them. I don't think that's necessarily true.
And those are the fun teams to look out for, is when you're not really anticipating. They're going to be able to do some things on offense, ladies and gentlemen, that hasn't been done at Tupelo in quite a while, maybe since the Bumpus era. With that, you're going to see a lot of spreading. You're going to see a third-year quarterback in Daniel Bristow who is very calm, very, very precise, and he had probably 6 or 7 guys drop passes, and he was still able to complete 11 to like 6 or 7 different guys in the jamboree last Friday night. So they'll be really fun to watch. Defense, it's a Trent Hammond defense. They're going to be good.
Yeah, that seems like that's the theme is. Anytime you talk about Tupelo, you got to talk, well, it's Trent Hammond. And I think that's the scary part about this team going into the season. I've talked to multiple coaches. They say, no one's talking about Tupelo. Well, that's not a good thing because Trent Hammond Tupelo that's a different sort of team that you're dealing with.
Right, and with that being said, you can watch a couple of games right up front. They're going to play Clarksdale Friday night. They're going to play Corinth in week 2. So, they're going to still see some area teams and do some stuff, and they could turn some heads on the offensive set.
Historically, Trent Hammond teams, especially when he was at Amory, when those teams didn't have all the praise and the media hype, those were the most dangerous teams that seemed to do well. When the teams that were talked about more, those were the teams that maybe didn't live up to the expectations. And this is sort of the Tupelo team that has the chance to maybe surpass those expectations.
Yeah, and be on the lookout for a couple of new names, especially at the receiver slots. You're going to see some new running backs. You're going to see some new receivers. And not to give away too much, but they're pretty swift.
We'll watch out for them this year. We'll say that at the least. Teams in 6A North we got to watch out for, South Panola and Clinton. I think those are the two. We mentioned them at the top of the show. You have Cam Akers on Clinton. South Panola has everyone back. Those two teams are dangerous this year.
Yeah, I don't know what they feed them or let them drink in Batesville, but they're always able to do that. And probably this time tomorrow night we'll start to get to see a little bit that's going on between those two. And it's going to be fun. Cam Akers, he doesn't get a lot of love, especially in the North, but he is really, really good.
He's just fun to watch.
Yeah, to be a junior
honestly, he was probably going to be Dandy Dozen if he wasn't a junior. If he was if they let juniors on the Dandy Dozen, he probably wouldn't have been it. South Panola has Tyler Pogue, Oluwane Hoskins, Donald Twilley, Demetrius Market, Cole Rotenberry. Those are 5 guys that contributed over 600, 700, sometimes 1,000 yards offensively. And they're all back. South Pinol's used to replacing those guys. They're not doing that this year.
Yep, haven't lost a game, I think, in a year and a half. The last team to beat them, Tupelo.
Interesting. Well, we're going to be making all our predictions and prognostications when we come back. 5A and 6A, don't go anywhere. Hit us up on Twitter at WCBI Endzone for your predictions. We'll have it all when we come back. Back here on our End Zone preview show, time to make our picks for 5A and 6A. We start off in Class 5A. Is Oxford going to win Region 1? I think let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, I think so. I picked them last year, and I think they're going to do it. I don't know why you would go against these guys, regardless of what's happened with kids not going to play. They're going to win, and they're going to do well.
So who finishes second out of that region?
I like West Point.
No, I do too.
Yeah, I think that West Point is just going to be able to do what they've always done. I think the division has a couple of teams that have been good in the last couple of years that are kind of going to be down this year. And process of elimination, West Point will move up a couple of slots.
Keep an eye on Center Hill. We talked about them earlier. They got a lot of guys coming back on that team. Does New Hope finish in that top 4 and get to a playoff spot?
Yeah, I think they do. If anything, they definitely take the 3 or possibly the 4th spot. And, you know, with that, I think that that's going to help a lot of the young kids who are trying to grow up and be into these kind of role positions right now. I do think so, at 4 at worst.
Yeah, I think, I'd say New Hope is definitely a playoff team. At the 4th seed, they look pretty solid right there. Still got to figure out some things on offense. Defensively, they may be a little shaky, losing all the starters they had from last year. But New Hope, they're a playoff team. Who wins 5A North? Oxford? Is it just, are we just saying Oxford?
I'm not just saying it to say it, but I'm saying it because they're probably going to do it. It's going to be Oxford in the North, especially with the last couple of years. They've had some really rough time after that North position, but they're going to do North.
They happen to play the state championship in Oxford this year. There's no way in the world that they are not going to use that as motivation to make it. But Starkville did the same thing last year, and they didn't play in the state championship. So just keep an eye on that.
Yep.
Who does Oxford play in the 5A state title? And do they win?
I think they're going to play Laurel.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But who wins?
Oh, me. I didn't pick Oxford last year. I'm going to probably pick Laurel this year, too.
Okay.
That's just – I love Johnny Hill. He was at Tupelo for a little bit. But it's been really tough for them to get over that hump. Laurel, it's nothing against Oxford. Laurel's good.
Laurel's really good with Keon Howard and Octavius Cooley. They're loaded. But if they have Kyrie White and Kenzie Phillips, Oxford will win the state championship. If they do not, I think they need those 2 horses on offense to be sure they get through to win a state title. 6A. Give me your top 2 teams. Well, I guess give me your Region 1, Region 2 champions.
All right, if we go with Region 2, I'm going to go with Clinton. I think that they're extremely, extremely talented. There's a lot of hype. If you get on social media, Clinton is hyping it up, and that does a lot, too. I think number 2 in that is going to be Starkville. I think they'll put together some good division matchups, and they have the last couple of years. Some of those have been a little controversial, but that makes them really fun and really rivalrous. I think Northwest ranking goes 3. I think Warren Central goes 4.
In Region 1, is South Panola your champion?
Yeah, South Panola is going to do that, and they may take a loss tomorrow night, but again, it's not how you start, it's going to be how you finish, and I think South Panola is going to do very, very well come November.
Where do Tupelo and Columbus finish in Region 1?
I have picked that a sleeper team that we haven't talked about, DeSoto Central.
I was about to say it, DeSoto Central.
DeSoto Central will go 2, Columbus will go 3, and Tupelo will go 4.
I had that flipped. I have Tupelo 3, Columbus 4, but honestly, those two teams may tie at that point because they're very even talent-wise. So, but yeah, Tupelo, Columbus, I think we both agree are playoff teams this year.
Oh, most definitely, definitely.
Who wins 6A?
In 6A, it's going to be tough in the North. I think it's probably going to be one of the hardest North matchups.
I just changed my pick, by the way, while we were talking.
Well, that makes it interesting. In the North, I'm going to go with Clinton.
See, that's who I had Clinton to start with on this show, but the more I talk about South, why do I keep going against South Panola? Why? I don't know why I do it.
That's what other teams say, too.
Maybe there's a certain person who makes me go against South Panola, but I don't know who that is. Regardless, I'm picking South Panola over Meridian in the state championship for 6A.
All right.
Who do you have winning state title then?
I think it's going to go out of the North. I think that Clinton is going to probably go all the way, and then they'll ride that wave the next year.
We'll see how it all plays out. It's going to be fun this year in 6A. We'll put a bow on the show and get you ready for the season. We're almost there for kickoff, so come on back here on the End Zone Preview Show. Well, there you have it. There's all of our picks for the 2015 high school football season. We start on Friday, 10:05 p.m. right here on WCBI. We're now starting at a new time on the CW, 11 p.m. So give you a little time to come back from your games and get ready to watch us once again. Braden, we appreciate the time. We're ready for the season. Make sure you tune in to the Miss98 Scoreboard Show every Friday night. For that, we're going to see you on the End Zone Friday right here on WCBI. Until then, have a great night.